On this episode of Coming Soon to Orlando, we're talking about some very interesting companies that are located here in Orlando and some of the work that they're doing. We're talking about rent control in Orange County. We're talking about a Brightline update and a couple other things. Stay tuned. The first story I'm going to talk about today came out of my own experience at the Business Inno event that was put on in Winter Park yesterday. Basically, the Orlando Business Journal has launched a completely separate brand to talk about technology and innovation here in Orlando, which I think is very cool. But on the panel were a few different business owners from the tech space, the space, and it was really cool to hear their perspective of where Orlando's going, where we are, and opportunities that we have. The first guy, Tony Oxford from GTI, talked about how their company is getting into the 4D technology world, and they have, with the Marines and the Army, been able to basically take our local defense industry, which we have a massive defense industry, if you didn't know, here in Orlando, and kind of help them with 4D training, everything from VR, but then his company actually takes the smell faction and basically can create a wartime simulation like burning oil or smoke or that kind of thing, as people that are training in the Army and Marines can kind of go through these simulations. They've used now the same technology, same company, to help if you've ever ridden Hagrid's motorbike over at Universal, sort of as you're flying through there, that smell that you get throughout there, their company is in charge of that. And so as like the metaverse kind of comes online, Orlando wants to be known as the hub for virtual reality, Web3, and the metaverse. And they're pushing a lot of different companies that are already here, as well as attracting some of the other ones to get into that space. It's very interesting to see companies like Tony's and what they're going to do to help that go. One of the other people that were on the panel was the lady from Space Perspectives. And if you've never seen this before, space travel and like space tourism is becoming more and more of a thing. And so her company is in charge of Space Perspective. It's like a huge air balloon that's as big as multiple, apparently, football fields that will take you on a 2-hour trip up over the atmosphere, give you 2 hours up and then 2 hours on the way down. And so her whole idea around how like Orlando's talent pool and then the proximity to the coast and how exciting that is for the people of Orlando is really refreshing to hear. She talks about the multimodal opportunities that we have in our area, from train, trucking, you've got the coast there, and then we literally have a spaceport right outside of Orlando. And so it just got me very excited about everything coming on in the Central Florida area, as many people believe that, yes, we're theme parks, but we are so much more than that. Whether it's our talent pool, our beautiful weather, our tax incentives, all that kind of stuff makes Orlando a very exciting place to be. The second story we're going to talk about today is around rent control here in Orange County, where Orlando is sitting. A few months ago, Commissioner Emily Bonilla put together a report and said that she was going to move forward on trying to have people vote on rent control for Orange County. This kind of came out with a $60,000 study that the city paid GIA consultants to make a 54-page study to find out, do we need rent control in Orange County based on the increase of 25% rent year over year. And so people were looking at obviously, wages have not gone up 25% year over year here in Orange County, and so should we put something on there? So Commissioner Bonilla's idea was that if you own more than 4 units in Orange County, that you couldn't increase the rents on those more than 5% per year. Now, GIA consultants in their study came out and said that basically rent control is not going to help. It's going to potentially hinder the amount of growth that is coming to that area. We need more apartments, we need more houses, and if you start stifling some opportunity for developers to come in and put those in, that it'll actually hurt people in the long run because our supply will be much lower than our demand. If you look across Orange County, we have something like a 96% occupancy rate on apartments. There's over 138,000 currently active apartments that are turning over, and of which most of them get snapped up. Something like 1.4 applications for every unit out there, meaning that there's still more supply than there is demand, and even in the apartment space. I don't handle rentals or apartments, but I do help a lot of people people that are renting while they're looking for a house, and it is really hard to find rentals. And so what this study essentially said was they looked at Tampa, Miami, and other places around the country that are experiencing massive growth. They determined that if there is going to be a cap on rent increases, that it will net hurt people of Orlando. So it sounds like rent control is going to be shelved. Story 3, we're going to talk about the Brightline. And if you've been following along this story for the past decade, Brightline is the train organization that is hopefully going to connect over 70% of Floridians. And I think this is a really exciting project. So right now it runs from Miami to West Palm. And by next year, it'll run all the way from West Palm all the way back up through Disney and the airports here in Orlando. The next phase beyond that is how do they connect Orlando down to Tampa to really give us that full coverage that a lot of people are looking for? Well, this week there was a massive step forward in a federal grant of $16 million to help the public-private partnership with Brightline to continue to move forward on making that connection actually happen. And so now that things are moving forward rather quickly with laying rail and putting together new trains and systems around this, I think that Brightline has a very bright future, pun intended. Let me know down in the comments below, will you be using the Brightline once it's open? The last story I'm going to talk about today really comes around the residential real estate side, and it's a two-part story, one with residential real estate that already is existing, and the other is the new construction portion, and both of them play really well together. Looking over the past week, there's been a significant amount of sales uptick where you're seeing more pending sales than new listings hitting the market. The big differential, though, is the amount of actual decreased prices that we're seeing on the resale residential market, and so that kind of indicates to me that the market is starting to soften a little bit. We talked about that in our lives and some of the other videos in the past. But the new thing that I've been paying attention to is the amount of new construction and the big developers that are still moving forward with massive new developments. There's been no slowdown here locally. In fact, over the past 2 weeks, there's been over 20 new developments that have kind of hit the permitting process where they're looking to replat different areas. You've got a lot of more builders coming online. And so what I do see happening is that we have a lack of supply in most areas, although there is a downward pressure on pricing. Builders are going to have to offer in design incentives, are going to have to offer lot discounts and the kind of things to keep things moving forward. And so it's an interesting dynamic market that we have here locally because we still have plenty of people moving here. Still not enough homes on the market in general, but we're not seeing pricing take off as fast as it was over the past 2 years. And I think that's a good thing. What do you think? So that's this week's Orlando update. Let me know down below which one was your favorite story. What are you most excited about coming to the Orlando area? And listen, if you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, please take the time to subscribe. We're putting out videos multiple times a week around life here in Orlando. And then last thing, if you're looking to move to Orlando or you already live here, you're moving within Orlando, my team and I, we'd love to be your real estate resource of choice. So make sure you reach out at info@positgroup.com. We'll see you guys on the next video.